All right, let's get right into it. Today we're unpacking the wild claims made in a viral video about a massive, and I mean massive, global market crash that supposedly happened out of nowhere.
So the source we're looking at today kicks things off with this absolutely staggering number, $5 trillion. And it claims that this much money was just erased from global markets. And get this, in only 60 minutes. A number that big, that fast? Yeah, you're going to need a pretty good explanation.
And this wasn't just one part of the market, you know. The source claims it was a total meltdown. We're talking stocks, gold, silver, even crypto. Everything took a nosedive. Even the US dollar wasn't safe. The claim is that it all happened at once, which, of course, just created total and utter confusion.
Okay, so that's the what. But the real question, the one everyone was supposedly asking is, why? What in the world could trigger a panic that big, that fast, and that widespread? The source says it wasn't your typical economic news. Nope, it was something else entirely. So the source paints this picture of trillions just vanishing in an hour. And maybe the most bizarre part of its story is that it supposedly happened in a complete information vacuum. No official announcements, no press conferences, nothing. Investors were just left staring at their screens completely in the dark. And here's where the theory really gets interesting. It claims this $5 trillion collapse wasn't random at all. It was a direct, knee-jerk reaction to one single geopolitical event. So what was this big trigger? Well, according to the source material, it all came down to a single threat of war. Just one statement that apparently sent the entire global financial system into a tailspin.
The video claims the panic button was hit the moment Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu went public with what it calls a clear warning to President Trump. The message was apparently simple and blunt. These negotiations you're having with Iran, they're not going to fly. For the markets, that was supposedly a sign that diplomacy was dead.
So what were these demands that were so unacceptable? Well, according to the source, they weren't really demands so much as an ultimatum. A total shutdown of Iran's nuclear program, the complete elimination of their missile capabilities, and cutting off all funding to groups in the region. Basically, terms that Iran would almost certainly never agree to. And that's the key right there. The source claims that investors, the people with entire teams of analysts, they saw this and immediately did the math. If these were the only terms on the table, then a deal was impossible. And if a deal is impossible, well, what's the only alternative left? War. And that realization supposedly triggered an immediate chain reaction. This wasn't just a regional issue anymore. This threat, the source says, sparked a wave of panic that washed over the entire globe, forcing everyone to pick a strategy, and fast.
And this is where things get really fascinating. You had two completely different reactions playing out. On one side, the source describes Western investors just hitting the sell button, dumping everything because they feared a long, messy, expensive war. But on the other side, it paints a picture of China being incredibly strategic, telling its banks and billionaires to start buying up all the gold they could, basically seeing a massive opportunity in all the chaos.
And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, the source claims Iran fired back with its own threat, not against a military base, but against American companies, anywhere and everywhere in the world. Now you're talking about a direct attack on the global economy itself. That, of course, just threw more fuel on the fire. Now, this all seems like a terrifying but maybe understandable series of events. But the source asks a bigger question. Was this just a series of threats and reactions spiraling out of control? Or was all this chaos actually part of a much bigger, much more hidden plan?
This is really the heart of the source's claim, that there's a secret plan unfolding behind the curtain, a really bold, audacious scheme that's not just about winning a war, but about completely reshaping the world's energy markets, and for the benefit of a very small group of people.
The source breaks this alleged plan down into 4 pretty chilling steps. Step 1, start a war that takes out Iran. Step 2, seize control of their massive oil reserves. Step 3, take all that oil and just flood the global market with it. And Step 4, the grand finale, crash the price of oil all the way down to $30 a barrel.
Just look at the impact they were supposedly aiming for, taking the price of oil from where it is now and absolutely tanking it to a historic low of just $30. But the source poses a crucial question. Who on earth would actually benefit from that?
According to this analysis, the list of winners is really short. Basically just a few companies who could then operate using Iran's free oil. And the losers, well, that's pretty much everybody else. American oil producers would go bankrupt because it cost them twice that much to drill, and the economies of Russia and Saudi Arabia, they would be completely wrecked.
So after laying out this whole alleged conspiracy, the source gets to its final and very pointed conclusion. It answers the big question: who is really pushing the world to the brink?
And the source does not mince words here. It presents this very stark picture, claiming that while pretty much the whole world, the US, Europe, Arab nations, does not want a war, there's one country that is the sole driving force pushing for it: Israel.
And to back this up, the source drops a pretty powerful statistic, that a full 80% of Americans are actually against a war with Iran. It uses this to suggest a huge gap between what the public wants and the direction events are heading.
So the final takeaway from this source material is pretty bleak. It's a picture of a world thrown into complete chaos, a world where $5 trillion can just disappear in an hour, and where global stability is balancing on a knife's edge, all because of some alleged hidden agenda.
Which leaves us with a final, very provocative question the source wants its audience to ponder. In a world that's this unstable, this chaotic, who really holds all the power, and what are they planning to do next?